bringing you up to date on all the action from a busy weekend of women's soccer. This is USL Super League Game Week on SiriusXM FC.
Welcome into Game Week on SiriusXM. Week 12 came and it went, and Week 13 has some exciting matchups. Alongside former SEC standout Marion Crowder, I'm Anna Witte. We were also joined by the league's Golden Boot leader, Addie McCain from Fort Lauderdale. She came on, talked about her team's success so far this season and some of her furry roommates. I think you're going to enjoy that one, Marion, in particular. But how are you doing? I know you're in Florida for the SEC tournament. How's everything going so far?
Yeah, heads above water for the both of us, but lots
literally, because you're on the beach.
Literally, I am on the beach. I have not yet set foot in the sand. When you've got to be at the fields all day, and then here's my thing: we're cueing my seasonal depression because it's 4 p.m. The sun is setting. And I'm just like, is it time to go to bed? I haven't even dinner yet. And then I'm like, well, it's literally only 5:30.
I know.
Here. Like, what, I mean, look at that. You see that?
No, I know.
What am I supposed to do with that?
It's disgusting. I know. I feel that the same way, especially when you're in your office all day and then you look outside. Oh, maybe I'll go for a walk before dinner.
Vitamin D. I'm going to get some vitamin D, walk with the dog, like have a nice decompressing moment of the day. No, you're not.
Winter. Nope, not happening. Clearly it's dark. I needed light to support us for this show.
So anyway, don't get me started on that. We're good. We've had some exciting, you and I talk about this all the time. It's such an interesting time in women's soccer.
Yes.
Because I mean, obviously we have this brand new Division I league, which is absolutely incredible. But just even like on the SEC tournament side, obviously we've been doing that this week. We'll do the ACC tournament later. It's just been so incredible to see like the local buyout. Like, it's not something that it used to be something where it's like, oh yeah, like we've got women's soccer, but you're only going to buy like tickets to events like that, right? If you have somebody that you know, or you're like really like a big fan of a certain team. I feel like, Anna, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on your end, especially like in the Carolina hotbed, but I just feel like you're seeing so many people just be like, no, we just kind of want to go like enjoy the event.
Yeah.
We don't have any ties. We just like really want to come and enjoy soccer. It's so cool.
It is cool. I actually worked at the season opener at the Ascent game, and there was a fan there, and he started talking to me, and I said, oh, are you a fan of Charlotte FC? Are you a fan of the U.S. Women's National Team? What brings you? And he was like, I'm just a fan of women's soccer. I'm so excited to see this brand new league. And that was such a cool moment to see, women's soccer's made it, and they've been here for a really long time. But that to me was my, oh, wow, this is really cool. And the Super League's going to be huge. So really cool to see what's happening on the college level, the professional level, everything in women's soccer.
Everywhere.
Tampa Bay is doing really well too. Last week, we saw them not have their best week yet, but they came back and they got in the win column. Their actually first win at home this season. They beat Lexington 3-1. And your girl, Marion, you picked her for your team last week. Cecile Flo-Nielsen recorded her brace. And it was a really sweet goal, I think. Her second goal was amazing. But then you looked at the goal from Flint, and that was a complete defensive breakdown from Lexington in the second half.
I mean, if we're honest, it was all a defensive. Look, I feel like people think that if you say something is a defensive breakdown, you're discrediting what the attackers are able to do. Sure. That's not true at all. Both things can be absolutely true at the same time. That's why you play on both sides of the ball, right? So there is what I'm about to say. There's nothing that I want to take away. You mentioned I picked her on my team. I want her. I love her.
Yeah, I wanted her too.
She's speedy. She is decisive in front of goal. She's composed, but she has this sense of urgency, right? That she knows she needs to touch, shoot. It never feels like it's too much for her in the box. All that to say, I went back and watched those goals multiple times, and I said, surely I'm seeing something wrong. And it does all come down to Lexington's defensive breakdown. And we've taken a break on saying that Lexington has needed to improve defensively, because I do think they have improved defensively. What concerns me is the 1v1 situations. When looking at the first goal, Cecile Flo-Nielsen, Perez absolutely just streams by her. There's no breakdown. There's no let me get an athletic stance to try and stop her. It's a simple cutback. Now you put your goalkeeper in a really tough spot. The second goal even worse defending, right? You had two players coming to guard what on the near post? What? Nothing. There was nothing there. And they were just, it was this ball watching kind of moment that we've seen from Lexington from time to time. And a player of Cecile Flo-Nielsen's caliber, she's going to take her time. She's going to give herself a beautiful prep touch as she did. She's going to bury it in the side netting. It was a gorgeous shot. Again, don't take me wrong, nothing to take away from her. And then Natasha Flint, Anna, you are spot on. Defensive breakdown, a moment of transition. Flint is well. She's strong on the ball. She does well to break that first line of pressure. But Perez, again, in the 1v1 situation, far too easy. Not even a selling cutback, just a simple little touch from the left foot to the right foot, and away we go.
I know. Perez was the big specific player in the 1v1 situations for Lexington that really stood out in both of those goals. But you have to credit Nielsen's second goal. Like, her ability to use that windup, she barely had any momentum going forward in the perfect placement at the right time. That was just class. And that shows that a player like Nielsen can score from all over the pitch. Like, in any situation, she can get it done for Tampa Bay when they have that energy.
100%. Multiple ways that she can get looks on the goal. She can create a lot by herself, and that was evidenced by that first goal. Yeah, it was a good ball over the top. It was a good run, but she still had a lot of work to do in that moment to get that. I actually didn't even think she was in a position to get a shot on the frame of goal. And so for her to be able to create those chances for herself out of seemingly nothing really speaks to the individual she is. And you know what? I know they lost, but once again, Sydney Shepherd on both sides of the ball is continuing to be excellent. She got her fourth goal of the match. It was an incredible finish, and it was actually 1-1. You know, that it wasn't, you see the scoreline 3-1 and you're like, oh, it was a beatdown. No, at one point we were 1-1. It was a really good matchup, and it was just individual moments of breakdown for Lexington that Tampa Bay, what I want to give credit to Tampa Bay the most about is the fact that previously we would have seen Tampa Bay just, kind of skew away at those chances. They would have been given turnovers. They would have been given good opportunities, but they wouldn't have made the most of it. And in this match, yes, they were given some moments of freedom by the defensive breakdowns, but they still made it count. The efficiency was there, and you got to give them credit. But Anna, you know what I think? You know what trend I've noticed?
What?
When we call out a team, when we're a little tough on a team this week, they end up performing in the next one. I mean, think about it. DC, I was like, I'm on board. And then I was like, you know what? Sell the team. I don't know what do you need? And then they're like, oh no, hey, we're going to show up. Now we started talking about Lexington, or we started, not trashing Lexington, but we were like, hey, something's got to give.
Totally.
Right. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh gosh, we're going to be a soccer team now. Same thing with Tampa Bay last week. We were like, what is happening, guys?
I know. Tampa Bay find themselves in the 4th spot. They move up so high with that win against Lexington. So credit for Tampa Bay, and also the details were taken care of on the defensive end. And that is something that we hammered home that they would need. So, hey, Marion, maybe our next career could be in the coaching space. The expansion teams in the Super League, you and I?
You know what coaches are going to do? They're going to start texting us and be like, hey, can you be a little tough on us this week so we can really perform this week? That's what's going to happen.
We should do that. And just, we'll leave it off the show, but we'll say, hey guys, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We're
people's personal Buffalo Wild Wings button when they're like, let's make the standings interesting. Okay, Anna and Marion, here's what we want.
Yes. That's what we're going to do moving forward. The other thing that has really stood out in the last few weeks is not just the field players, but the goalkeepers. There were 4 players in particular who in the last few weeks have seen a lot of new reps. Tampa Bay's Lauren Kozel, she got her 4th start for Tampa Bay in their win against Lexington. She's on loan from the Portland Thorns. Then Spokane with Hope Heisey, it was her 2nd start. And then you look at Fort Lauderdale, McKenna Gottschalk has started the last 2 matches with Morshea on IR this past week. And then Adelaide Gay with DC Power. She came in for an injured Aquino. The match before got the start this past week. I think it's really important to see different numbers all over the field, but it's also really important to see different numbers in goal. We're at a point in the season where points matter. However, you can take risks because there's this huge 2-month break in between the fall and the spring. But why do you believe this rotating cast in net could be a benefit for teams down the road?
It gives you valuable minutes Okay. And so I know we're not there yet, but future outlook, when teams are hunting for a trophy, we're hunting for a playoff spot. You never want to think about it, but we have seen some pretty big injuries that have already
Totally.
sidelined a couple of players, and you're looking for that next woman up mentality. It's much easier to have that next woman mentality when you've already kind of been thrown into the situation sporadically and you've collected these little valuable moments where you can go grow confident in your game ability. And that for me, for goalkeepers, is so important. Now, I want to preface this because I've said it before and I'm going to stick by it. I believe that you should have a clear number one. Obviously, there's really only one team kind of that's in the back and forth where they're a bit of the outlier, because I do believe that Martinez is still starting
Hmm.
for Brooklyn.
Yeah.
We have seen Purcell, but it seems like they're moving forward with Martinez. Okay. So I do want to preface, I think we're talking about a different situation if you're going back and forth between goalkeepers every other game or every other half, like we see at the college level sometimes, because I think that you should have a clear number one with clear responsibilities, defined roles within the team, within the locker room. That's not the situation that you and I are talking about right now. We're talking about some bumps. We're talking about some bruises. We're talking about some varying things where you as a head coach have to feel confident putting someone else in net. With that confidence comes the depth on the bench. And the depth on the bench, if we look at teams' postseason success as a pyramid, the bottom part of that pyramid is going to be, can you win at home? The middle part of that pyramid is going to be, can you gather some type of point on the road? Draw, win, however much you can do that, you're going to set yourself up for success. The top point of our triangle is player depth, player availability.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, obviously, you never want to see your number one go down, but the silver lining is that you're getting valuable minutes to add to that depth column. So you take care of the first two levels of the pyramid, and you're getting your third, and you're becoming a really well-rounded team for something like a playoff push.
This is also a brand new league, and you're getting players in brand new systems. And still, every single team is still, except for Carolina, because they haven't lost a game yet this season. They have some of their best players out on injury, and they are still getting results. But to the majority, they're on a whole nother level. But to the majority of the league, and even Carolina in this aspect, you still want to figure out who is the best 11, not the best 10, but the best 11, and who is going to give us the best results down the road. And to your point, when it comes to the playoffs, you want to be performing with every number. You want the depth in your favor. To me, my favorite goalkeeper that I have seen since this rotating cast has started to see new players in is Tampa Bay's Lauren Kozol. She's on loan from Portland, and whenever she was drafted out of Michigan State a few years ago, she's got great size. She's proven she's got great hands. She's got a great knowledge for the game. She was able to kind of learn behind this Portland foreign system and Bella Bixby over up in the Pacific Northwest. Kozol is a player that plays with some composure, and for Tampa Bay, at times they get frazzled defensively, and she's going to give them stability.
Yeah, one of my colleagues, one of our colleagues actually, Joe White, a great goalkeeping coach, has the Keeper Institute, really knows a lot about goalkeeping. And one of the things that she taught me, right, because you're a defender, you maybe have more of the mindset, but as an attacker, I see the game entirely different than a goalkeeper. And so when I sit down with a person like Jill, she's told me that the number one rule of goalkeeping is prevent when you can, react when you must. The reason that I bring that up is because you mentioned Kozol, and there was not a whole lot of preventative measures. Yeah, Tampa Bay had a good performance, but she had to deal with a lot. There was not a whole lot of preventative measures in front of her. We can talk about some nuances to how she can maybe grow into that role, but there was a whole lot of react when you must for Kozol. And the scoreline doesn't tell the whole story, because Parsons and Shepard, there were multiple big time moments where Kozol had to come up and react in a massive way. She doesn't make a couple of those saves. It's an entirely different storyline that we're chatting about.
Kozol has been really the difference in so many ways in some of these games that Tampa Bay has played in. Excited to see some of these other goalkeepers and their growth in this league. And just to wrap up match day 12 in the Super League, Brooklyn got the result over Spokane 1-0. Dallas Trinity beat Fort Lauderdale 1-0. Tampa Bay, obviously, the 3-1 win over Lexington. And then to wrap it all up, Carolina on the road against DC Power gets the win 1-0. They dominate that series in the fall schedule. Well, we've got plenty left to talk about, plus a conversation with Fort Lauderdale's Addie McCain. Don't go anywhere. It's game week on Sirius XM.
Bringing you up to date on all the action from a busy weekend of women's soccer. This is USL Super League Game Week on Sirius XM FC.
Welcome back into Game Week on Sirius XM alongside Marion Crowder. I'm Anna Witte. We'll get all of your screens ready and available for week 13 because they're all happening at 7:30 on Saturday. Carolina Ascent hosts Spokane at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Lexington hosts Dallas at 7 Eastern Time on Saturday as well on Peacock. And then we round out the weekend with the Florida Derby. Fort Lauderdale United hosts Tampa Bay at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. If you are in the Fort Lauderdale area, you want to go to that Fort Lauderdale United Stadium for this one because it is a huge derby that this league is excited to host. Two teams who have really nice attacks. Fort Lauderdale United hasn't gotten the results that they want to have as late. They've surprisingly lost their last 3 matches, only 2 goals in their last 3 matches as well. But they have this strong attack, and Hamid, Gordon, and McCain, which to us is the best of attack so far in the league. What do United have to do to get their attack back in order to be dangerous against Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I think so much of what Fort Lauderdale is able to do, we talk about the explosive players. I like to call them the exclamation points, but we also have to talk about the piano players, right? Who gets us into the full of the sentence. It's really the midfielders for Fort Lauderdale. And so I think so much of their success stems from what the midfielders are able to do. If players like Felicia Knox can evade pressure, break the first line, that's typically the first key, visual key to success for a team like Fort Lauderdale, because honestly, all of their midfielders have the ability to break that first line of pressure, pick their head up, and ping a 30, 40-yard ball into the feet of their better wingers who are 1v1 in the wide channels. Sometimes Fort Lauderdale makes it a bit difficult, right? Because they're having to balance an interesting attack. When you have players like they do on the wings, you want to be able to continually keep them in 1v1 situations. But how do you do that? Typically, you're talking touchline wide, you're talking about getting high, and so that naturally is going to expand your shape in the attack. Also putting much more pressure on the midfield group to be able to work the pressure, break the pressure, and then get the ball to you. So I do think that we give so much love to this Fort Lauderdale attack, but so much of what the success, when the success happens, it's really because of the midfielders behind them. And the midfield for Tampa Bay, as you know, Anna, has been looking much better of late now that they've moved into that double pivot.
I like that you give credit to Felicia Knox and her teammates in the midfield because they are kind of the engine that makes this Fort Lauderdale team so consistent and smooth. Like the way I would describe Knox is she just plays so smooth and it's so pretty to watch her distribution. And that's what's made them so good. For Tampa Bay, gosh, it was an exciting one. So much better against Lexington. 3-1 win. No changes, ironically, in their lineup from their loss to Spokane into the game against Lexington. They get their first win at home against Lexington as well. For Tampa Bay, what do they have to do in the midfield to continue to grow? Because now they put Jade Moore in there next to Jordan Listro, and Jade Moore has provided this stability and experience that lets Listro do her thing a little bit.
Yeah, Jade Moore, mid-30 level player with a lot of experience. And Jordan, a younger player, yes, but a very, very influential player, a very experienced player. Jade Moore, extremely technical on the ball, allows Jordan Listro to kind of, as you said, do what she does. She can get in there, she can get gritty, but I actually think that both of them, oftentimes with a double pivot, we see one that is so different than the other. And I think that both Jade and Jordan can do a little bit of both. I think what's been so impressive about them is that they recognize what the other is going to do. So if Jordan sees that, Jade is going to be the lower lying pivot, and she's going to be the one winning challenges and getting the tackles, it's almost like she has this innate ability to switch that in her mind and say, okay, it's my job to be a distributor. It's my job for us to now break the lines. And they do that really well throughout a game, back and forth. And it's been really exciting to see. And one of the other things that I just loved about Tampa Bay, especially at home, is the commitment to the energy. And that sounds so cliche, but when you're at home, again, going back to our triangle of what makes a successful team in the postseason, the bottom part of that pyramid is being able to protect your home turf and not settling for just these 0-0-1-1 draws. It's like, no, that's not good enough. We're going to get it. And they have consistently had, well, not consistently, let's be honest, but last match they had that willingness to go and fight for the first one, bring the tempo, bring the energy.
This double pivot for Tampa Bay to me is really interesting because you have a defense that is so experienced, so strong. The details at times lack, right? But you have a strong defense that a double pivot's so weird because when you have a double pivot, typically you don't trust your center backs and your back line to get the job done. Do you like this decision for Tampa Bay to have a double pivot at this point in the season?
I do, because I think that both of them, like Jade and Jordan, I think they both can be attacking minded players.
Right.
And it's all about having the balance. Rarely are you going to see both of them sit in that low block. If we have the 4, right? Rarely are they going to be like my diagram. Can we see?
Okay. That's perfect.
So rarely are we going to have them sit right in front of the center backs in the build out. One thing that they do really well about is having what we call balance in the midfield. And so that sounds like just kind of a loosey-goosey term. It's really not. Having the balance in the midfield, especially when you're playing a double pivot, is vital because the balance provides you either an extra number in the attack or an extra number back behind the central channel so you can collect the ball a bit easier. And so it's oftentimes when we see double pivot, the lack of balance that really puts them into a bind because you got both of them standing flat. Either that hurts you defensively or you don't have the extra number in the attack. But again, there's really this innate recognition between those two that, okay, you're going to say, all right, great, I'm going to go. And so it's almost, I venture to say, it's almost like an 8-6-10.
Yeah.
And they swap between the 6 and the 8 for both of them because they can both be box to box.
Right. It's not like true stay-at-home 6s. It's definitely an interchange. And it'll be interesting to see how this formation really evolves over the season because at the beginning of the year, it was just Listro in the 6 by herself. And then Tampa Bay realized, okay, we got to get another number in there. And it's worked for them. So it's going to be a big one, a Florida Derby, the first matchup between Tampa Bay and Fort Lauderdale this season. So make sure to tune into all 3 games. Don't go anywhere. We've got our big interview with Addie McCain. She talked about her venture from the NWSL here to the Super League.
Bringing you up to date on all the action from a busy weekend of women's soccer. This is USL Super League Game Week on SiriusXM FC.
Welcome back into Game Week on SiriusXM. We are joined by the captain of Fort Lauderdale United, Addie McCain. Addie, thanks for joining the show. You have such a unique journey in this league because you graduated from Texas A&M. You were signed 17th overall in the NWSL draft to the Kansas City Current. You had a stint with the Chicago Red Stars, and then you joined this Fort Lauderdale United side as a captain this year. How have you handled this transition from the NWSL, where maybe you weren't getting as many minutes, but now you're starting every game, you're scoring plenty of goals, you're leading the league in goals, and obviously named captain?
Yeah, no, it's been really fun. Like you said, it's been a different experience just because I have been playing a little bit of a different role, of having to bring a little bit more of a veteran or leader kind of presence.
Right.
A lot of my team is younger. They came from college. So honestly, one of my goals was to be able to just be more of a vocal leader, be more of a presence in that way. And so, yeah, coming into it, like I had hoped to do that. I didn't really know if I would be able to accomplish things such as that, but it's been fun to challenge myself in that way. And it's something I need to continue to work on and continue to bring every day. And it can be hard sometimes because it's been a little bit of a roller coaster for us. We were going up for a little bit. Now, we've had a rough go here the past couple weeks, but it's such a long season and it's been so fun. And I think we have such a great group that they make it easy to be able to do that, because it's not only me doing it. There's so many of them that have different qualities that are all so valuable. And so, yeah, it's been fun.
Being one of the older players on the team and one of the more experienced players on the team, being in this leadership role, who is somebody that you have relied on to give you some guidance in this role with Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah, I mean, I have some friends, I think, from the NWSL that I still stay in touch with. And I will lean on them and ask them questions here and there. And just, it is so different for me because I wasn't, like you had said, getting maybe the minutes or the time or anything that I had desired. And so I think continuing to stay positive mentally and continuing to work on my game, despite having to be in maybe a leadership role, is so important for me, and something I'm still trying to navigate, of just having to myself on the bad days continue to bring a positive mindset, not only for me, but for the rest of the group. So yeah, all of that is still something I try to navigate. I also, a couple of my teammates here, we talk often, and they also keep me grounded and help me continue to push, like I said, even on the bad days. So
even this group has helped you individually when it comes to your attack and your goal scoring. Right now, you're leading the Golden Boot race with 6 goals so far this season. What's worked so well for you this year in that attack?
I think one, being higher up the field, that's a little different than me. I'm usually a 10 or an 8. So that's been nice, but our attack, there's so many good attacking presence in there. So we have great wingers who have kind of sometimes put it on my foot a little bit. They work really hard. They run really hard. They're creative. And so sometimes I feel as if I was just in the right place at the right time, tapping in some of their crosses or things like that. So yeah, I think just the group overall, the team, the way we play, the style of play, is something that I think I fit into well. And like I said, oftentimes I feel like I'm just tapping in and getting to be a part of their hard work. So it's been nice.
Yeah, you guys are still so early in this entire season. We're halfway through the fall schedule. However, we've really pinned your attack as one of the most, if not the most dangerous attack in the league so far, especially with the wide players, you centrally, and even Felicia Knox getting involved in the attack. That foursome for you has been so effective. What's been the big emphasis for you guys in training, in going into games that has allowed you guys to have the success?
Yeah, I think our goal every game is to have the ball, to keep the ball. We want to be in control. And sometimes it doesn't work out that way. And so when it doesn't, I think capitalizing on numbers, seeing the advantages, whether that's, like I said, keeping passing it, moving it, or being more direct if we have to. And we have that speed at the winger position that they're able to get in behind and make it difficult for back lines. And then, like you said, having Felicia, the quality centrally, it helps with them being able to get in behind, put in crosses, have people in there who want to finish and want to put it away.
Yeah, it's definitely just the start for you guys and your attack in specific. I remember you with the Kansas City Current, you were in a much deeper role, playing in that 8 or 6 role, 10 role, maybe even more specific. Now you're in what seems to be a 9 role for this team. How did that come to be? Was that something you wanted to do, or was that something that the team more so asked for you?
Yeah, no, early on in preseason, I think I played there a little bit, and honestly, it was new for me. I kind of was like a little bit skeptical because learning a different position is always hard. But coming from what I experienced in NWSL, I just wanted to get on the field. I wanted to help my team in any way possible. And so truthfully, like the way I play it sometimes ends up being more of like a false 9 or a 10. I feel like I bring my abilities to that kind of position. And so it just kind of so happened that I ended up falling there with this team. And yeah, like I just want to be in a place where I'm helping the team and doing whatever I can for us to win. So
well, now you're in a place where the weather is so much warmer than Chicago. So what have been some of the favorite things that you've done in Fort Lauderdale so far?
Yeah, I think going to the beach, honestly, I have a dog and she loves the beach. So that's been exciting. And yeah, the weather is much, much warmer than Chicago.
Yes. And especially right now. I mean, this is the perfect time to be in South Florida. It's like what? No humidity almost.
No. Yeah, it's been really nice.
Yeah. So I saw where you had a bet with your dad in college at Texas A&M where there was some scoring bet. You won it, and then you won your dog. Can you dive a little bit deeper into this bet? This sounds really fun.
Yeah, no, my freshman year, I think I had only scored 1 goal, which I have never in my life really been a goal scorer. I kind of see myself as more of a good passer, good on the ball. I like to keep possession. And so, like I said, I had only scored 1 goal. And I think I was joking around with my dad one day, and he was like, all right, if you score, I think it was 5 goals your sophomore year. Because I was like, I really want a dog. And he's like, you don't need a dog. Like, you don't have time for a dog. Yeah. And so he makes this bet that if I could do it, then he would get me a dog. And it just so happened that I scored more than 1 goal that year. I think I scored 6 maybe. So I barely made it over his mark. But yeah, I got a dog, and they've weirdly continued to multiply. I have 3 total.
Oh my gosh.
On your own? Yeah, they are all my own, but I only have 1 with me here in Fort Lauderdale. The other 2 are, they were very attached, and they love a yard. They don't really like other dogs all that much. So they come up and visit here and there, but I only have 1 with me right now. But yeah, I'm a huge dog person, and when I live alone, so sometimes it's really nice to have company. And she makes me get out of bed on my off days and actually have to, work and, be productive, I guess I should say. But yeah.
Right. And go to the beach, obviously.
Go to the beach. Exactly.
So what's your dog's name, and what kind of dog is she or he?
Her name is Murphy, and she's a Bernedoodle.
Okay. Was that exactly is that what you wanted in a dog, or were you kind of like, any dog I'll take?
Yeah, it was what I wanted. I had become obsessed with all the doodles. Every single one of mine is some form of a doodle. And I love that they're hypoallergenic. So yeah, it's what I wanted, and he made it happen for sure. So
I love it. That's so fun. How do you balance being a dog mom with being on the road and being obviously out of your home at training as often as you are?
Yeah, thank goodness enough. I actually live so close to training, like maybe 4 minutes. So that's been really handy. And then I found somebody on Rover, actually, that when I travel, I take her to her house, and she's been amazing with her, honestly a lifesaver, because it definitely was something I was worried about, especially moving to a new place. So yeah, she saves the day on most weekends.
Yeah, no, that's important to have somebody who can help you out, especially with how much you guys are on the road. Yeah. Well, Addie, thanks so much for joining me today. It was so great to get to know you a little bit more, and congratulations on all of this early success. Best of luck against Tampa Bay. This is going to be a fun little Florida rivalry that we're going to see happening.
Yeah, I'm excited. And I had heard, I think it's dollar beer night. Tickets are only $9.54, so we need all the fans to come out and support. Definitely us, not Tampa.
Right.
But yeah, it's going to be a fun one.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on SiriusXM's Game Week. Make sure to tune into all 3 games on Match Week 13. You can tune in on Peacock and catch us every single Wednesday on the SiriusXM app. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next Wednesday.
You've been listening to USL Super League Game Week on SiriusXM FC.